Appearance Day of Lord Varaha, when Lord Krishna appeared as a boar to lift the earth out of the mess it was in. Sorry? Vasati Dashana Sikare Dharani Tavalagna. Vasati Dashana Shakire Dharani Tavalagna Shashina Kalanka Kaleva Nimagna Keshavadrita Sukara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Everybody. Vasati Pashana Sakire Dharani Tavalagna Shashina Kalanka Kaleva Nimagna Keshavadrita Rupa Keshavadrita Shukara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Shashina Kalanka Kilaya Nimagna Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Could you read it, Tristan? So this is the most transcendental appearance of Lord Varaha. Lord Varaha. And this pastime was one of the, like many of all the pastimes of the Avatar, this one specifically was meant so that Lord Krishna could experience the chivalry mood of fighting. And the history goes all the way back to a point in time when the four Kumaras, which are very young, I think naked boys, who came to the gates of Vaikuntha and were knocking very hard, so to speak. And Jai and Vijay, the doorkeepers, they wanted entrance into the Vaikuntha so they could go see Vishnu, and he restricted them. And they became extremely angry. I mean, not extremely, but they were upset. And they basically told him, this is not proper behavior, and we curse you. And immediately Lord Vishnu came on the scene, and he apologized on behalf of his Jai and Vijay doorkeepers. But he turned to them and he said, now you must take birth in the material world. You have a choice. You can either go for 3 births as demons, or you can take 7 births as a devotee. And of course, because they wanted to make it happen quick so they could get back to their service, they took that 3 births as demons. And the demons that we're dealing with is a specific demon is Hiranyaksha. So the history of his birth is very instructive. The part of the progenitors that Lord Brahma had are Diti and Kashyapa, this Brahmin, and his wife Diti, who at the most inauspicious time of dusk, that's when we generally say our Gayatri, when the sun's going down and it's between light and dark. And she became extremely lusty, and she requested her husband to unite with her. And he warned her that this is not a great idea because this is very bad timing. And as a result, Hiranyaksha was born. And Prabhupada points out in the purport there that in our Krishna consciousness movement, we perform Garbhadan Samskar, which is basically chanting 50 rounds and praying for the appearance of a Vaishnava devotee of the Lord to enter. So the wonderful appearance of the Lord was brought about by these particular circumstances. And so we will be reading from Canto 3, the victory of Hiranyaksha. Canto 3, chapter 17. Oh, it's chapter 18, the battle between Lord Boar and the demon Hiranyaksha. Yeah. So, what the situation here right now is that in this pastime is the earth had fallen into the Garbhodaksha ocean and was stuck in the gunk. And Lord Boar, under the great circumstances, came to liberate the earth from its messy condition. And it's also described that Lord Varaha peered out of the nostril of Lord Brahma, and it was a very transcendental pastime. So we'll start with the battle between Lord Boar and Hiranyaksha. Okay. This is Maitreya continued. The proud and falsely glorious Daitya paid little heed to the words of Varuna. This is when Hiranyaksha came out of the when he came to his so-called full energy, and when he was throughout the universe looking for somebody he could fight with, and he went to Varuna. This is Maitreya continued. The proud and falsely glorious Daitya paid little heed to the words of Varuna, O dear Vidura. He learned from Narada the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hurriedly betook himself to the depths of the ocean. He saw there the all-powerful personality of Godhead in his boar incarnation, bearing the earth upward on the ends of his tusks and robbing him of his splendor with his reddish eyes. The demon laughed. Oh, an amphibious beast. The demon addressed the Lord. O best of the demigods, dressed in the form of a boar, just hear me. This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions, and you cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me. You rascal, you have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic. So today I shall enliven my kingdom by killing you. And Prabhupada points out in the purport that the demon used the word abhavaya, which means for killing. And Sridhar Swami comments that this killing means liberated, or in other words, killing the process of continued birth and death. The Lord himself kills the process of birth and death and keeps himself invisible. The activities of the Lord's internal potency are inconceivable, but a slight exhibition of this potency, the Lord, by his grace, can deliver one from nescience. Text 5. The demon continued, when you fall down with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice and devotional service will also automatically cease to exist like trees without roots. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing the earth on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he rose out of the water just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. The demon, who had golden hair on his head and fearful tusks, gave chase to the Lord while he was rising from the water, even as an alligator would chase an elephant. Roaring like thunder, he said, "Are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? There is nothing reproachable for shameless creatures." The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred to her his energy in the form of the ability to float on the water. While the enemy stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and the other demigods rained flowers on him. The demon, who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. The personality of Godhead said, "Indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Certainly we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatala and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay in the water for some time, because having created enmity with the powerful enemy, I now have no place to go." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The demon should have known that God cannot be driven out of any place, for he is all-pervading. Demons think of their possessions as their property, but actually everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can take anything at any time he likes. Text 12. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised words. In other words, a demon may be a great soldier and commander of a large number of infantry, but in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is powerless and is destined to die. The Lord therefore challenged the demon not to go away, but to fulfill his promised word to kill him. Text 14. Hissing indignantly, all his senses shaken by wrath, the demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. The Lord, however, by moving slightly aside, dodged the violent mace blow aimed at his breast by the enemy, just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. The personality of Godhead now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in a rage, took up his mace again and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Then, with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. In this way, the demon Hiranyaksha and the Lord, the personality of Godhead, struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. There was keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In this eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. That means two bulls are going after a cow for sex life. So here, the earth planet is called Ila. This earth was formerly known as Ilavarta Varsha, and when Maharaj Pariksit ruled the earth, it was called Bhartvarsha. As India has recently... Next, text 20. O descendant of Kuru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality of Godhead, who appeared in the form of a boar. Text 21. After arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the Lord of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayana, who was assuming the form of a boar for the first time. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods, the brahmanas, the cows, and innocent persons who are spotless and always dependent upon worshiping your lotus feet. He has become a source of fear for unnecessarily harassing them. Since he has attained a boon from me, he has become a demon, always searching for a proper combatant, wandering all over the universe for this infamous purpose." Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, there is no need to play with this serpentine demon, who is always very skilled in conjuring tricks and is arrogant, self-sufficient, and most wicked. Srila Prabhupada comments in the purport, no one is unhappy when a serpent is killed. It is a practice among village boys to catch a serpent by the tail and play with it for some time and then kill it. Similarly, the Lord could have killed the demon at once, but he played with him in the same way as a child plays with a snake before killing it. Brahma requested, however, that since the demon was more wicked and undesirable than a serpent, there was no need to play with him. It was his wish that he be killed at once without delay. Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, you are infallible. Please, kill this sinful demon before the demoniac hour arrives, and he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. You can kill him by your internal potency without a doubt. My Lord, the darkest evening which covers the world is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kindly kill him and win victory for the demigods." The auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most opportune for victory, commenced at midday and has all but passed. Therefore, in the interest of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. The demon, luckily for us, has come of his own accord to you, his death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. Chapter 19, the killing of the demon Hiranyaksha. Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the words of Brahma, the Creator, which were free from all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. The Lord, who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma, sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiranyaksha demon, who was stalking fearlessly before him. Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand and looked splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazing wonderfully. Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike his unarmed foe without obstruction, he respected the law of single combat, thereby kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord. As the Lord's mace fell to the ground, a cry of alarm arose from the witnessing crowd of gods and rishis. The personality of Godhead acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked his Sudarshan disc. As the discus began to revolve in the Lord's hands, and the Lord contended at close quarters with the chief of his Vaikuntha attendants, who had been born as Hiranyaksha, a vile son of Diti, there issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality, and they cried, "May victory attend you! Pray dispatch him, play no more with him." When the demon saw the personality of Godhead, who had eyes just like lotus petals, standing in position before him, armed with his Sudarshan disc, his senses were overpowered by indignation. He began to hiss like a serpent, and he bit his lip in great resentment. The demon, who had fearful tusks, stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the same time, "You are slain!" O saintly Vidura, while his enemy looked on, the Lord in his boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrificial offerings, playfully knocked down the mace with his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest. The Lord then said, Take up your weapon and try again, eager as you are to conquer me." Challenged in these words, the demon aimed his mace at the Lord and once more loudly roared. When the Lord saw the mace flying toward him, he stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize a serpent. His valor thus frustrated, the great demon felt humiliated and was put out of countenance. He was reluctant to take back the mace when it was offered by the personality of Godhead. He now took a trident, which was as rapacious as a flaming fire, and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against a holy Brahmana. Hurled by the mighty demon with all his strength, the flying trident shone brightly in the sky. The personality of Godhead, however, tore it to pieces with his discus, Sudarshan, which had a sharp-edged rim, even as Indra cut off a wing of Garuda. The demon was enraged with his trident, was cut to pieces by the disc of the personality of Godhead. He therefore advanced toward the Lord and, roaring aloud, struck his hard fist against the Lord's broad chest, which bore the mark of Srivatsa. Then he went out of sight. Hit in this manner by the demon, O Vidura, the Lord, who had appeared as the first boar, did not feel the least quaking in any part of his body, any more than an elephant would when struck with a wreath of flowers. The demon, however, employed many conjuring tricks against the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of Yoga Maya. At the sight of this, the people were filled with alarm and thought that the dissolution of the universe was near. Srila Prabhupada's purport, the fighting enjoyment of the Supreme Lord with his devotee who had been converted into a demon appeared severe enough to bring about the dissolution of the universe. This is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the wavering of his little finger appears to be a great and very dangerous movement in the eyes of the inhabitants of the universe. 18. Fierce winds began to blow from all directions, spreading darkness occasioned by dust and hailstorms. Stones came in volleys from every corner as if thrown by machine guns. The luminaries in outer space disappeared due to the skies being overcast with masses of clouds which were accompanied by lightning and thunder. The sky rained pus, hair, blood, stool, urine, and bones. O sinless Vidura, mountains discharged weapons of various kinds, and naked demonesses armed with tridents appeared with their hair hanging loose. Cruel and savage slogans were uttered by hosts of ruffian yakshas and rakshasas, who all either marched on foot or rode on horses, elephants, or chariots. The Lord, the personal enjoyer of all sacrifices, now discharged his beloved Sudarshana, which was capable of dispersing magical forces displayed by the demon. At that very moment, a shudder suddenly ran through the heart of Diti, the mother of Hiniracha. She recalled the words of her husband Kashyapa, and blood flowed from her breast. When the demon saw his magic forces dispelled, he once again came into the presence of the personality of Godhead Keshava, and, full of rage, tried to embrace him within his arms, to crush him. But to his great amazement, he found the Lord standing outside the circle of his arms. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fists, but Lord Adhokshaja slapped him in the root of the ear, even as Indra, the Lord of the Maruts, hit the demon Vritta. The Lord is explained here to be Adhokshaja because beyond the reach of all material calculation. Aksaja means the measurement of our senses, and akshobhya means that which is beyond the measurement of our senses. Text 26. Those struck indifferently by the Lord, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to wheel. His eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, his arms and legs broken, and the hair on his head scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. Aja, Brahma, and others arrived on the spot to see the fearfully tusked demon lying on the ground, biting his lips. The glow of his face was yet unfaded, and Brahma admiringly said, "Oh, who could meet such blessed death?" Brahma continued, "He was struck by a forefoot of the Lord, whom yogis seeking freedom from their unreal material bodies meditate upon in seclusion in mystic trance. While gazing on his countenance, this crest jewel of deity's sons has cast off his mortal coil." These two personal assistants of the Supreme Lord, having been cursed, have been destined to take birth in demoniac families. After a few such births, they will return to their own positions. Shri Maitreya continued, after killing the most formidable demon, Hiranyaksha, the Supreme Lord Hari, the origin of the boar species, returned to his own abode, where there is always an uninterrupted festival. The Lord was praised by all the demigods, headed by Brahma. Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, I have explained to you the personality of Godhead's coming down as the first boar incarnation and killing in a great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess, as if he were just a plaything. This has been narrated to me as I heard it from my predecessor, spiritual master." Sri Sutta Goswami continued, "My dear Brahmana, Shata, Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kausarva Maitreya, and he was very, very pleased." Then the purport, the end of the purport, Prabhupada explains, Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages headed by Shaunaka, and therefore he addressed them in this verse as Dvija, twice born. The sages assembled in Naimisharanya hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami were all Brahmanas, but to acquire the qualifications of a Brahmana is not everything. Merely to be twice born is not perfection. Perfection is attained when one hears the pastime and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. Text 34. What to speak of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, whose chest is marked with Srivats? People may take transcendental pleasure in hearing, even hearing of these works and deeds of the devotees, whose fame is immortal. The personality of Godhead delivered the king of the elephants who was attacked by an alligator and who meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, the female elephants who accompanied him were crying, and the Lord saved them from the impending danger. The example of the elephant in danger was saved by the Supreme Lord is especially cited here because even if one is an animal, he can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, whereas even a demigod cannot approach the Supreme Person unless he is a devotee. What grateful soul is there who would not render his loving service to such a great master as the Personality of Godhead? The Lord can be easily pleased by spotless devotees who resort exclusively to him for protection. Though the unrighteous man find it difficult to propitiate him. O Brahmanas, anyone who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in the wonderful narration of the killing of the Aranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the firstborn in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved in the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmana. Prabhupada explains, since the personality of Godhead is in the absolute position, there is no difference between his pastimes and his personality. Anyone who hears about the pastimes of the Lord associates with the Lord directly, and one who associates directly with the Lord is certainly freed from all sinful activities, even to the extent of the killing of a Brahmana, which is considered the most sinful activity in the material world. One should be very eager to hear about the activities of the Lord from the bona fide source, the pure devotee. If one simply gives oral reception to the narration and accepts the glories of the Lord, then he is qualified. The impersonalist philosophers cannot understand the activities of the Lord. They think that all his activities are Maya. They are called Mayavadis. Since everything to them is Maya, these narrations are not for them. Some impersonalists are reluctant to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, although many of them are now taking an interest in it just for monetary gain. Actually, however, they have no faith. On the contrary, they describe it in their own way. We should not hear, therefore, from Mayavadis. We have to hear from Sutta Goswami or Maitreya, who actually present the narrations as they are, and only then can relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, the effects on the neophyte audience will be poisonous. Text 38. This most sacred narrative confers extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the field of battle, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs and organs of action. One who listens to it at the last moment of his life is transferred to the supreme abode of the Lord, O dear Shaunika. Purport: devotees are generally attracted by the narratives of the pastimes of the Lord, and even though they do not prosecute austerities or meditation, this very process of hearing attentively about the pastimes of the Lord will endow them with innumerable benefits, such as wealth, fame, longevity, and other desirable aims of life. If one continues to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of narratives of the pastimes of the Lord at the end of this life, one is sure to be transferred to the eternal transcendental abode of the Lord. Thus hearers are benefited both ultimately and for as long as they are in the material world. That is the supreme sublime result of engaging in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is to spare time and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended 5 items of devotional service, namely to serve the devotees of the Lord, to chant Hare Krishna, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to worship the deity of the Lord, and to live in a place of pilgrimage. Just performing these 5 activities can deliver one from the miserable condition of material life. So, in this regards, to complete the process of honoring this very special day, it is recommended, as you'll see on the calendar, it's required that we fast till noon. I know that's a long time for a lot of devotees, but this will give you special Shakti and energy to go the rest of the day by. So we're actually requesting devotees to take the prasadam today, wonderful offering cooked by Mother Chaitanya, and put it in your containers and break your fast at noon and honor Lord Varaha in the proper way. And also this one fast till noon covers all of our fasting for the Transcendental Appearance Day of Lord Nityananda. Hare Krishna. So please take advantage of this opportunity. This is the way we followed this Appearance Day when Srila Prabhupada was here, and everyone will fully benefit and be able to worship Lord Nityananda tomorrow without fasting. Yeah, very rare. Lord Nityananda is very merciful. And so, any comments or questions? This was a very easy and wonderful. Yes, please share with the rest.
Thank you so much for the reading, which was done so beautifully. And it's so important when we give class to pronounce every word like you did, very clearly, without rushing. And it makes a difference because then everybody can understand what's being said or read. And you did a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
As you can hear, Apoorva has a real taste for the Bhagavatam. He read today with a lot of enthusiasm, and it's the enthusiasm of the speaker that makes the message more relishable. Haribo.
You're very kind. All glories to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. All glories to Lord Varaha. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, our guiding light.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda
Kandar ako itamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Anandani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami
So we're going to be singing this song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur from the Vaishnava Siddhanta Mala book in Bengali. And this is in glorification of Lord Nityananda, whose appearance is tomorrow. And because it's very long, we can all sing it together. Boro suker kavor gai, boro suker kavor gai. Everybody together. Suravi kunjete namer hat kule chekai. Kadanitai, 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 kadanitai. Everybody together. Boro mochar gatatai, boro mochar gatatai, boro mochar gatatai, boro mochar gatatai. Shatta mulye shuddha nama sehat te vikhai. Shatta mulye shuddha nama sehat te vikhai. Kadanitai, 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 kadanitai. Jatta Bhakta Vrindavasi, Jatta Bhakta Vrindavasi, Jatta Bhakta Vrindavasi, Jatta Bhakta Vrindavasi. Ati kere dakinama beche darakasi, adhikari dekenama kadanitai, 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 kadanitai. Jadi nama kimbe bhai, jadi nama kimbe bhai, jadi nama kimbe bhai, jadi nama kimbe bhai. Amar sange chalo mahajaner kache jai. Amar sange chalo mahajaner kache jai. Kodani jai, kodani jai. Kodani jai, kodani jai. Tume kimbe Krishna nama, tume kimbe Krishna nama, me Krishna. Tume kimbe Krishna nama, dasture loi vahami, purnaha me kama. Dasture loi vahami, purnaha me kama. Kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai. Varadoyal Nityananda, Varadoyal Nityananda, Varadoyal Nityananda, Varadoyal Nityananda. Shraddha matra loyeden Paramahananda. Shraddha matra loyeden Paramahananda. Kodani jai, kodani jai. Kodani jai, kodani jai. एक बार देख ले चक से चाल, एक बार देख ले चक से चाल, एक बार देख ले चक से चाल, एक बार देख ले चक से चाल. गौरे बोले नित्यादेन सकला संभाल. गौरा बोले नित्यादेन सकला संभाल. Kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai. Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha, Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha, Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha, Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha. Jati dana vidya vala, na kore apeksha. Jati dana vidya vala, na kore apeksha. Kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai. Ammani chade maya chal, ammani chade maya yar, ammani chade maya chal, ammani chade maya yar. Grihe tako vanne tako, natake chanyar. Grihe tako vanne tako, natake chanyar. Kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai. Arnaiko valer voy, arnaiko valer voy, arnaiko kaler voy, arnaiko kaler voy. Achandela dhanama nitya doyam hoy. Achandale dhanama nitya doyam hoy. Kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai. Bhakti vinod, bhakti vinoda ke koi, bhakti vinoda ke koi. Bhakti vinoda ke koi, bhakti vinoda ke koi. Nitya charana virnar nahi ashoy. Nitya charana virnar nahi ashoy. Kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai, kodani jai. Jaya Radha, Golokananda Radha, Golokananda Radha, Golokananda Sri Radhe. Kananda Radha, Golokananda Radha, Golokananda Sri Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So let's read all together. I am singing news of great happy tidings. Lord Nityananda himself has opened a marketplace of the holy name in Suravi Kunja. The news of its great results is that he is selling the pure holy name in that marketplace for the price of only one's faith. Lord Nityananda, the proprietor of the market, seeing all the devotees become attracted, is selling them the holy name after bargaining with them. Oh, brother, if you want to buy the holy name, then go with me. We must go to the presence of that great soul, Nityananda. You will buy the name of Krishna. I will take my commission, and all of our desires will be fulfilled. Lord Nityananda is greatly merciful. Taking only one's faith, he gives the highest ecstasy. If Nitai sees only once tears in the eyes while chanting the name Gora, then he gives all resources to that person. He gives the pure teachings of Krishna to everyone and does not care for one's birth, wealth, knowledge, and strength. Now, giving up the illusory snare of Maya, either remain in household life or in the forest as a sannyasi, for no more troubles remain. There is no more fear of the age of Kali. The merciful Nityananda gives the holy name to even the Chandalas. Bhakti calls out, except for the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, there is no other shelter. Nityananda Ram Ki Jai.
Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Parvijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Vidrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Charorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam mam vishame bhavam buddha. Kripaya tavapada pankaja. Stita duli sadrishim vachintaya. Nainam galadashru daraya. Varanam gadgada radaya gira. Pulakarnishitam vapukata. Tavanama grahane bhavishyati. Yugayatam namishena. Chakshusha pravashayatam. Shunayatam jagat sarvam govindam virahename. Aslishyavapadamritam manastumam. Adarshanam marmata karotuva. Yatatava vidadatulam pato. Matprananatastu saeva napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting. And they're all benedict. Very nice. Very sweet. Nice little names. He invested all your little energies. They're not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth,